My relationship with Lynyrd Skynyrd's guitarist, Rickey Medlocke, has gone back around 25 years now. And we lived in Fort Myers. And I've got a lot of great stories. And when I first got the job in Fort Myers on the radio, Rickey called. Oh, man, and I felt like such a big deal. I'm like getting rock stars calling into my radio show, and I'm not even setting up an interview. He's listening. It meant so much to me at the time. And then a couple other things that we're going to get to, some fun stuff that we're going to get to when my father called him Lynyrd, which was definitely one of the most embarrassing moments of my entire life a few years ago. Anyway, my dad's a little bit on the older side, so it's not really a Southern rocker. From Jacksonville, Florida, Southern rock band called Blackfoot, had hits with Highway Song and Train Train. An incredible career, still going. We'll ask him about his very first job. We'll talk about the infamous plane crash with Lynyrd Skynyrd. Rickey Medlocke is my guest this week on Celebrity Jobber.
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, give a 5-star rating, and leave a review. Check out all our past episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you pod. What if these celebrities weren't famous? What would they have become? What was their first job? We're about to find out.
There you go, brother.
How you been?
Good, Zito. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing so good. I got to just tell you quickly, it's become like a family joke. There was that one time that I ran into you skiing in Colorado. Maybe, I don't know, it was over 20 years ago because my son is now 24 years old and he was in a ski school at the time. And I ran into you there and I tried to introduce you to my father, who, by the way, just turned 88 years old. And as I'm introducing my dad, I said, this is Rickey Medlocke from Lynyrd Skynyrd. He goes, Lynyrd what? And I said, no, Lynyrd Skynyrd. And he goes, Lynyrd who? And me and my brother-in-law, we crack up about it all the time, even though, it was 20 some odd years ago. He's an old man, so he wasn't a Southern rocker. So, but we still talk about that time all the time, man.
Yeah.
My very first, when I was on the air in Fort Myers, I remember one of my very first weeks on the job, you called in. I was doing nights at the time, and you called in because I had a woman called me a pig or something like that. And you called into the show, and you said, this is Rickey Medlocke from Lynyrd Skynyrd. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. I absolutely remember that.
And I thought... Yeah, go ahead.
Wasn't she like... I don't know. I think she really... Wasn't she calling in, and you two were having this, like, kind of a heated conversation, and she ended up calling you all kind of names.
That's right. That's right.
I remember that, man.
And you called in and said, hey, this is Rickey Medlocke from Lynyrd Skynyrd, and I just want to tell you, you're not a pig. That woman is the pig right there. And I was about, I got to say, 22 or 23 years old at the time. And I thought that was just the coolest thing. So I had no idea that me and you lived in Fort Myers.
Right, exactly. And I'm still here.
Still there, huh?
Yeah, I'm still here, dude. I mean, gosh, I've been here since 1991.
And how did you fare since the hurricane? How did you do since that?
You know what? Many blessings to me, man. I came out unscathed.
Wow.
I had no damage to my home, which I'm right on the water.
Yeah.
And no damage to my home, no damage to the boat. The only thing that happened was it broke a large section of a tree out next to the back there, and laid that sucker over right within a foot of my master bedroom.
Oh man!
But that was it. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I've been back and I've been to the beach, and it's just. I mean, they're coming. They're building it back, but it's going to be a minute. And to know that you walked away.
It's going to be a good listen. I've already heard guys down there saying, it's going to be about 5 years. And I'm hearing these business guys down there go, 5, try about 10.
Yeah, right. Right.
So, anyway.
Well, you guys did, Skynyrd did such a great thing for the community. You knew how bad it was because you lived there, and you guys, with the help of a few of your friends, put on a big show there and raised a lot of money for the community.
Well, you know what? We were really proud of that moment because we joined up, with other guest stars, and everybody came to the aid, and we were able to raise $1.8 million.
Wow.
And to give back, and all the money went to that. There was no hidden agendas. And, we were just very happy that we were, could be a part of it and kick in for, all the victims here in Southwest Florida. It meant a lot to us. It really did.
Well, it meant a lot to the community there, that's for sure. And to know that it was a band like Skynyrd that did it is even, the star power that the name has alone meant a lot to the community. Rickey, take me back. Take me all the way back to, it was pretty recent that I read, and you can confirm or deny this, I read that before Artemis Pyle, you were the original drummer of Lynyrd Skynyrd. Drummer, as you're a guitarist and main songwriter now. Is it true?
That is very true. The story is on this whole thing, and not a lot of people, will actually admit it. And
right.
What happened was, I was with Blackfoot first, and was very unhappy in what was going on with that in like 69 and 70. And I got a hold of Ronnie, and Ronnie said that we need their first drummer, Bob Burns, who later returned. But Bob left the band, and I got in, and I went in. And I was a signed member of that early band for 2.5, going on 3 years.
Wow.
Recently, there was a video that Gary did stating the fact that he had read a lot of people, calling that I was not a part of the band, that I wasn't an original guy or in the original band. And he goes, people are not reading about the history. Rickey joined us. He wrote songs with us. He played drums. He even sang vocals and played some acoustic guitar, and that they always considered me an original guy. I had signed contracts under the heading of band members of Lynyrd Skynyrd, and it was Ronnie, Gary, Allen, Larry Junstrom, and myself. So there's the way it went. And, of course, at the end of round 72, almost 73, I went back with got Blackfoot got together again. And the rest is history. We went on. We had success for quite some time. And then when that all came to a halt, I kind of kept the band's name going with different members, different versions, and finally rejoined Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Right.
In 1976, and I've been there ever since.
Wow. And are you from a musical family, Rickey? Because I do remember reading something about your grandfather and how the Blackfoot classic Train, that your grandfather was a co-writer of that song, or the original writer, and then you kind of made it your own?
Yes. My family, my whole family, were all, involved in music. My grandfather, my mother sang, my uncles played, and Shorty was, my grandfather was in and out of touring bands, and played with some of the heavyweights of Nashville at the time. And when he would be home, he would do a local TV show in Jacksonville called the Toby Dowdy Show, which, in fact, at a very, very, very young age, he bought me a 5-string banjo, a miniature banjo. And I started playing banjo at the age of 3. And we worked up some songs. I went on the show with him.
Oh, wow.
And stayed there till I was 8 years old.
Very cool.
And in the midst of that, I picked up playing guitars. Picked up playing guitar when I was 5. Picked up playing drums when I was 8. And so, I've been in this business, I guess we should say, the music business, all my life.
What was your first paying gig? Was it like when you said you were 3 years old playing banjo? Was that your first paid? Were you a professional musician at 3?
Well, I was getting paid scale
Right.
at the time, being on the TV show. So that would have been my first professional, paying gig.
And how old were you?
I went on to play drums for my dad's, for my granddaddy's bands. He paid me. I started out very, very young of getting paid for shows.
Wow. What about outside of music? Did you ever have a job outside of music? First job?
Well, yeah. I mean, you do odd jobs and you work, you're doing things, everything from, picking and clipping tobacco, working at a gas station, or, you do what you can. One job that I had, I worked at the Florida Air National Guard in Jacksonville because I love being around the jet.
Right.
And, I love that, fueling them and, doing different stuff out there. And, here recently, quite a few people has always asked me, if you had not been a rock musician, what would you have liked to have done? And I always say, if I hadn't been a rock musician, I'd have loved to have been a fighter pilot.
Really?
And, yes. I think that, I love cutting-edge stuff, and I would have, if I hadn't been involved in rock music and had the calling, I probably would have tried to gone in the military and tried to been a fighter pilot.
You think you could have handled being a military man, Rickey, and, drop down and give me 40? I see that as a tough thing for you to do when you're a younger guy.
Well, I mean, back then, if I'd have had the help, one of the things that took me out of Lynyrd Skynyrd, for the fact, and not a lot of people know this, but I have a lung condition called pulmonary fibrosis, and you got to have a lot of wind to play drums.
Yeah, you do.
So one of the things that I always thought, with running those guys, I always said, hey, you know what? You guys, I went to running. I said, you guys need somebody. I said, I know that I'm good for you guys, and you tell me that you love the way I play and it fits you, but I think that you need somebody that can step up a little bit stronger, a little bit better than me, and, and take over to boot you guys further. And that's when they got Artie, and Artie did fit the bill, and thus history has worked out the way it did.
Man.
So I'm proud of, look, you know what, man? I'm very proud of what has happened in my life and my career. It's still going.
Yes.
And I figure, hey, look, if Keith Richards can do it, I can do it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And he's got a lot of years on you, so you got plenty of time. When did you first think to yourself, because, I mean, man, let's talk, I mean, Blackfoot, you had Big Hit. And, like, when was it that you thought you made it in the music biz? Was there a big break or something that happened?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I remember we had not the first two records out. We had two records out in 75 and 76 called No Reservations and Flying High. And they literally did not do anything. They got overlooked because they had other artists that came out on top of us that got the attention. But 3 years later, we had the Strikes record come out. And we were totally unaware of what was happening until we were playing a club in Connecticut. And we saw the increase of a crowd that was unbelievable.
Right.
And the next thing you know, I got a phone call backstage from our management at the time saying, you guys need to pack up and you need to come on back to Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is where we were stationing ourselves out of. You need to come on back here and we'll explain to you what's going on. Well, all the way across from Connecticut, all the way to Ann Arbor, going through Detroit, we heard Highway sung on almost every station.
Oh, wow.
And we were like, what is going on here? You know? So when we got back, we got laid onto a tour with Journey for about 6 weeks.
Okay.
And I remember our first night with them was in Kansas City. And we walked out and we started into our set, which was basically the songs that, we had on Strikes. And we noticed that the reception was just incredible. And it wasn't until we hit Train and they just came alive, really alive. And when we finished, we walk off, and the road manager from Journey said, hey, you got plenty of time to go back and do one more.
Okay.
We walked back out, and I struck the notes to Highway Song, and when we did, the whole place was illuminated with light.
Really?
I turned around and looked at our drummer, and Jack was looking at me, and I looked at the rest of the band. I looked at Jack, I went, we got one.
Yeah.
We knew it right then. And sure enough, Highway Song went on to do, you know what it did? Took us over gold. Train took us over platinum, and rest is history.
Wow, man. That's cool. You know, sometimes a lot of guys will tell you that, you know, it was a series of events that led to their success, but I always love hearing when that one moment that changed your life, you know, because it's doesn't happen to everybody, you know, and those are cool moments to talk about.
Yeah.
I wanted to hear about a particular, and I hope you don't mind me asking, a particularly bad moment, and that would be when Skynyrd, and you were not in the band at the time of the plane crash. Tell me, when you heard about that, those guys are all your friends, and you lost a couple guys. What was that like?
Well, first of all, right before that, I had taken my old man over to see Ronnie and the guys because Ronnie really loved my old man. He had taken my old man as an inspiration to write, one of the inspirations to write Curtis Lowe about.
Right, okay, great.
And he had dedicated the album Nothing Fancy and a song on there called Made in the Shade because he used to tell us, you boys keep going the way you're going, and one of these days you'll have it made in the shade.
Right.
So Ronnie wrote a song to that. Well, we went over to their studio at the time in Riverside, and they were there. And Ronnie saw my dad and gave him a big hug, man, and said, Shorty, it's so good to see you. Y'all come on in and we'll play you some of the new record. Well, we go in, and he happened to play That Smell. And so after we heard it, and we talked a little bit longer, before we left, Ronnie said, Rickey, we got our own plane. Why don't you come ride for a week with us?
Oh, my God.
You know, just come and hang out, maybe get up, jam, whatever. You know?
Oh, my God.
And I thought it was a good idea. So right 2 days, maybe a day and a half, 2 days before, Blackfoot gets bookings. And so we had to do shows, and I called Ronnie up and told him that I couldn't go, had to do shows. Well, as they were leaving that afternoon from Greenville, we were pulling into Columbia, South Carolina.
Oh,
and that's how close fate was.
oh my God.
Know? Then I heard about it, and of course, my parents were just, shocked. My mom was like really shocked and kind of devastated because she loved all those guys. And the next thing was that after, I went through this thing where I says, man, if I'd have been there, maybe I could have said something or done something. But the next thing you know, I joined Skynyrd again. And we're on our first run in Europe in '96. We had just played London, and we had just did the tour over there, and it was on the anniversary.
Oh, God.
In '96. It was on the anniversary of that happening. And I climbed up on the bus upstairs, the double-decker bus, in the front lounge. And I'm sitting with Gary and Dale, and Gary looked over at me and said, where were you? And I was like, where was I what? He goes, where were you on this day back then? I said, oh, okay. I said, I was in Columbia, South Carolina, as you guys were leaving to go to Greenville. And I said, Gary, I always thought maybe if I'd have been there, maybe I could have said something to change the course, And he goes, Rickey, there was really nothing you could have done or said. And he said, besides, it's meant for you to be here now. It wasn't meant for you to be there then.
Wow.
So there you go.
Unbelievable. I mean, you give me chills right now because I had no idea how close you could have been. You could have been on that plane. It was talked about. Wow. Incredible, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think about it.
Yeah.
Being with Gary, we lost Gary last year, coming up on a year ago that we've lost Gary, the last of the, founding members of the band. And, I promised Gary, when I got back in the band, I promised him, I said, I'll be there, Gary, till the last note in Freebird is played. And, of course, I promised him that. And, of course, we all hoped that I had hoped, of course, he'd still be here.
Right.
I still haven't really settled on it yet. I haven't been able to settle with it. It's still a sore spot with me. We do a tribute every night to Gary during Tuesday's Gone, and I still can't really look at the video, and so I guess at some point, it'll come to me that, everything's good, and I know he's in a good spot right now, and I hope he's with my old man Shorty and Ronnie and Alan and all of them, and they're making great music.
You imagine the jam session those guys are having right now? Do you imagine what that probably sounds like? I'd like to get my ears on that.
Oh, yeah, man. Oh, yeah. Careers go forward. I know that Johnny and I, we're at a crossroads several times, whether to keep this thing rolling or whatever, and it was Gary's wish just to tell people to reaffirm it. I mean, it was Gary's wish not to let the music die with him. And we basically have put it together to where Johnny and I can go out, and it's still the brand name. We feel like we're Lynyrd Skynyrd. And the deal is, we'll see how long it's going to go. I mean,
you put no timetable on this. You're not.
We figure if the Rolling Stones can do it, we can do it.
No doubt about it. And it seems like I'm so afraid because everybody's coming out with a farewell tour, and it's like, wow, if we keep moving at this pace, I mean, who are we going to be left with? So I'm glad to know you haven't put a time on it, because at one point I did think that Skynyrd was winding down, and you guys were saying like this is going to be, a farewell kind of run here for the next few years. And it seems like everybody's doing it, and it's scaring me to death.
Well, the one thing that we did was we announced it, and it was it was misconstrued as to what we were basically saying. Gary was succumbing to serious heart issues and really didn't want to do the 80, 90, 100 shows a year. I mean, that's a heavy-duty thing to do.
Big time.
And so basically, we were going to cut it back. It would be a farewell to the heavy touring. We were going to cut it back to where we would only do maybe 35, 40 shows a year.
Okay.
And but then he succumbed to even, the serious heart, where he even had to drop out altogether. And there you go.
I mean, it's incredible with all that you've done. And Skynyrd, like you said, is still going strong. You're going to be there until the last note of Freebird is played. And we're talking about a long time from now, because the Stones are in their 80s and you are not. You got a long time to go, my friend. But what gets me is there's another band. Why don't you start relaxing, playing golf, maybe just chilling out and enjoying life a little bit? Because there's a new band. There's the Rickey Medlocke band and a new single, and it's like the machine is constantly turning for you.
Right. Well, here's my thing, Zito. This is where I'm at. I'm still very loyal, and still, Skynyrd is my main thing. Always will be. The reason why I'm doing this and I created this is because when Skynyrd was on hiatus, I wanted to have something to do. I got a lot of energy.
Yeah, you do.
And I can only do so much fishing until I'm ready to go play a guitar and, be active in music again. So that's one of the reasons why, and plus writing new stuff, have songs laying around, man, that needs to be recorded and it needs to be out there. So I'm very proud of what we've done with this new song, Never Run Out of Road. One of the reasons what we're doing, being part Native, there's a very serious issue with missing and murdered indigenous women. And it's the MMIW movement. And I picked an organization that I feel very worthwhile, and I got this through my friend Gil Birmingham, who's the actor in Yellowstone that plays the tribal chairman, the Natural Indigenous Women's Resource Center. A large part of the proceeds goes to that, and another charitable organization which I'm close to. Not too many years ago, they gave me a Lifetime Achievement Award, which is Dreamcatcher's charitable organization. And then another organization just for animals that we're doing, Save the Wolves. So 3 charitable organizations, part of the proceeds are going to.
That's great,
and
man.
I'm very proud of that, and I'm very happy to do it. At the end of the day, you know what? It puts a big smile on my face.
Well,
really does.
What I admire about you is so many people out there that need help, talking about the Fort Myers hurricane thing and how Skynyrd kind of comes in and plays this show, raise almost $2 million for for that community. It's just it's a real nice thing that you're doing, and you're a good man. And I'll tell you what else is good about you: that Hell House whiskey. You got somebody that's a real fan of that too, and you're talking to him right now.
Well, I tell everybody, when you buy a bottle and you drink it, don't drink too much of it, because the next day you're going to feel like you woke up in Hell House.
This is true. I gotta get you to sign a bottle for me next time I run into you.
We'll be more than glad to, my friend.
The Rickey Medlocke Band, Never Run Out of Road, new single. Download it, buy it. Great cause. The National Indigenous Women's Resource Center. Proceeds go towards that great cause. And man, it was great talking to you. I haven't seen you in a long time, but I definitely wanted to tell you about that time I ran into you in Colorado. And we still talk about my family. We still talk about it. I was like, man, that was probably one of the most embarrassing moments of my life when my dad called him Lynyrd, who I said, oh, Jesus, I wanted to crawl into a hole.
Yeah, man. Well, you know what, man? It's good to talk to you, Zito. Seriously, man, come see us. We're going to be around. We're going to be in the Florida area here coming up shortly. If you're in the area, man, let us know. Will do. Thanks so much. I really appreciate you, man. Thank you, brother. Take care of yourself. You too, man. Bye-bye. Pretty amazing story, and I'm telling you, I got goosebumps when he was telling me how close he was to getting on that plane with the band. He was with Blackfoot at the time, but was with Skynyrd before Blackfoot, so they had a great relationship still going on. And Rickey tells the story about how he almost got on that plane, but thank God that Blackfoot got bookings during that time, and he was unable to go. Incredible story. His big break came with Blackfoot. He noticed when he was in Connecticut that the fans started coming a little bit more than they previously were, and then management gave him an order to come back to Michigan, which was where their home base was at the time. As they're driving through Michigan, they can hear their song, Highway Song, on all different radio stations, and when they finally hit the stage, as they were opening up for Journey, they came back for an encore, played Train, Train. The place went crazy. He said it was that moment in time he knew something was happening with his band Blackfoot. Talked about some jobs that he had outside of music, picking and trimming tobacco. Worked at a gas station, the National Guard in Jacksonville. He said he was so impressed by the jets that if he wasn't a professional musician, he wanted to be a fighter pilot. Pretty crazy, right? But his first gig, his very first paying job with his grandfather, Shorty, on a local TV show in Jacksonville, where he'd play a 5-string banjo that his grandfather bought him, and he got paid scale. So he was a professional musician appearing on that TV show when he was 3 years old. His first job in the music business his whole life. That, my friends, that's pretty cool. That's incredible. And a new song from a new band, the Rickey Medlocke Band, the song Never Run Out of Road. Proceeds benefit the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center, a great charity and close to Rickey's heart as he is Native American. RickeyMedlocke.com. You could purchase the song, you could stream, or you could check out the song there. Dark Horse 1950_Medlocke is Rickey's Instagram, and just an all-around great guy doing great things for the community and other charitable organizations. Says outside of fishing, he can't fish all that much, so he's got a lot of energy. He's doing a lot of stuff, and he's doing a lot of good for a lot of people. Man, that was a great conversation with Rickey Medlocke from the band Lynyrd Skynyrd. And we've got a lot of them up on CelebrityJobber.com. All our past episodes are posted there. Please listen anywhere you pod, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Please subscribe. If you like the podcast, give us a 5-star rating. We'd love that. And leave a review. That's important as well. And you can find us on YouTube.com/@CelebrityJobber. On Instagram, the Celebrity Jobber Podcast. Really appreciate you listening. Thank you so much. Until next week, I'm Jeff Zito.